Hey, welcome back. This is the Halo After Show. My name is Chris, and we have a guest host with us today, Christopher, with us. Sean actually wasn't able to join us today. He has some things going on. We'll put it that way. But we're gonna go jump right into this here. I'm usually not the one that drives the show, so uh, we're gonna be talking about Halo After Show. If you're new to us, thank you so much for joining us. If you're repeating, thanks for coming back. We are 100% interactive. So if you have any comments, any questions, anything that goes on that either we overlooked or you want to go ahead and point out, by all means, leave us a comment. We'll pull it up. We'll stop. We'll talk about it, and we'll kind of move from there. But let's do this.
Yeah.
Chris? What was your first your reaction to this episode here?
I like the term you used last week as a Halo head. I am 100% a Halo head. I've spent probably weeks of my life playing the video game. The first episode I was about. I like this episode a lot more. I think because we saw a whole different world than we're used to from the Halo series.
Okay.
I think we're actually getting some questions answered too, and kind of seeing our plot pan out.
Okay. Now, see, it's funny you say you liked episode 2 more. I was more enthralled in episode 1, but I loved all of the actual like building that they were doing in episode 2 when we seen the rebel, when we
Yeah,
seen Reach earlier, which we'll talk about here in a minute, when it comes to the 22-year flashback.
yeah.
So there's a lot of that I think they did great in this episode here. But as an episode, I found myself enjoying episode 1 more so than this, but not by much. I mean, this one had me just locked in. I was there pretty much the entirety of the show.
Yeah. Yeah, and I got really excited, kind of starting off the when they did the 22 years ago, and we saw Reach and all the Spartans, and kind of like you saw the scars on the back of John's on the back of John. It was
Yeah. What
you,
they call it? It's called the pellet that's back there, I believe.
yeah. So a little backstory. I mean, these Spartans, they go through all kinds of different hormonal therapies, injections, and you see it on in a couple seconds later. They have side effects, right?
Yeah.
So it's interesting to see that. So I was hoping we see more of that, but it was only a few minutes long.
Well, let's jump into this because this opening had me immediately. When it goes ahead and opens up, we're at the UNNC training center on Reach,
Hmm.
and you're flying in. And all of a sudden, you see John just kind of in the back, and you see the scar, and you see him stand up, and you're like, okay, what's going on? Why is he walking out when all these other Spartan trainees are sleeping? What's going on? Then he walks by a bunk that was I think it was 066, and it's
Hmm.
empty. And come to find out, he was going to defect with another one of his training buddies, and he had a change of heart. And it was a pretty drastic change of heart because when
Yeah,
he finds him outside of the gate, he lifts his weapon at him and basically gives him this spiel: either you're coming back with me or you're gonna die.
right.
I'm like, that's a big change of heart.
Yeah, you go from running to turning them in, and the personality clash, right? You have John, who he hasn't been trained; he's been programmed, right? And then you
Yeah,
have
exactly.
this other character
The
who
sword.
has
Yeah,
he's a smart aleck and he's creative and he wants to do the dreaming for both of them, right? And it's
yeah.
just maybe the therapies didn't work on him like they did on John, right?
But we
So,
also see his hand. He's like, you know what? That his arm was
mhm,
completely like just deformed. I don't know if it was something that they were doing treatment wise. It reacted differently to his body. But yeah, he said, he can see what Halsey's doing to him,
right.
but John can't see what Halsey's doing, to him per se.
Yeah. And a little bit, kind of like from the book of Fall of Reach, like I said before, they talk about kind of the side effects. I remember there was an example like one of the Spartans was paralyzed from waist down, but because he was so smart, they still could use him for fighting and stuff like that. So, I mean, from a kid to an adult, there's all kinds of, different. I mean, some of the Spartan children didn't make it through the process in the Fall of
Yeah.
Reach.
Well, that's
So,
something by itself. I mean, me and Sean, we're big Star Wars fans. I know you are as well.
yeah, yeah.
As someone like myself that has no idea what this whole Halo world is, at what point do they reach out and try to do they take these kids from their parents when they realize they have an ability? Is it Midichlorians? No, I'm just kidding.
It actually kind of. Did you ever read Ender's Game when they go out and find the kids with high IQs and faster reflexes and they train them? It kind of reminds me of that process. I don't know if you know that book or that movie at all, but that's actually what it reminds me of. I'm a little rusty on the Fall of Reach, but yeah, it's a process where I don't know if they get kidnapped or if they're like voluntarily taken away from their parents.
That's crazy. 'Cause putting someone through that, it's almost
Yeah,
like the parent, and it must be looked high upon for the parents. It's like, oh, my son has become a Spartan, because why would you give up your child
yeah,
unless they're taken from them? And that's kind
yeah,
of my only thinking of it.
yeah. I don't want to do any spoilers, but I do know there is some punishment that is done in the other Halo series, I guess you could say, to the leaders of the whole program.
Ah,
So yeah,
interesting. Yeah, because I
oh,
think
yeah,
even though this show here, I think a lot of the Halo fans are Halo heads. We'll roll with. I like
yeah,
that.
I like Halo heads.
uh, are saying that it's not a story that's been told within the Halo world.
Yeah,
If it's a book or a video game, this is something completely separate. So it's almost like they're, if I kind of compare it to the MCU, where they have, your source material, but they're telling a whole nother story.
yeah,
So it's
yep,
fun seeing, how this has taken place from someone from the outside. But yeah, he gives Soren 5 minutes. He's like, you
yeah.
know what? He asked for 10. He gives him 5. It probably
Yep.
takes him 2.5 to get to the ship. It's like, so he really didn't get a head start at all. And so I was like, man, it's a little
E-
cheap.
Even when he said, "Oh, my weapon is jammed," it's like, who are you talking to? Like, there's no one around. You don't have your helmet on, but he's still giving himself an out of why he didn't stop, of why Master Chief didn't stop
Yeah.
him, right? So it's like he's drinking the Kool-Aid. He's completely committed, to the Spartan program.
Yeah, he was giving himself out. So if someone did, ask him what happened, he would have immediate recollection of what happened,
Yeah,
even if
yeah,
it wasn't, a truthful, way to go. Looks like
mhm,
Sean here was able to take a minute and chimed in. He said, "Yeah, I mean, the young Master Chief was spot on. Yeah, he looked great compared,
yeah.
to the adult version of who it is. That was a very, very, well casted, character there.
Oh
But
yeah.
let's roll forward to Reach. So we're on Reach current time, and we're seeing Halsey actually having a conversation with the fleet commander, Admiral Hood.
And he's a big character. I will
He
say this: if you have any video game history with Halo, he was introduced in Halo 2 in the video game, and he ends up becoming like Lord Hood because that's how high his title is. So I will say I didn't agree on some of the character casting in the first episode, but this was pretty spot on for the video games. So
okay.
I actually like seeing him a lot.
Okay, well that's pretty cool, and I love the conversation that him and Halsey had. I mean,
Yeah,
Halsey even went as far as saying, "I don't know what this is," and it shocked him. He's like, "It's the first time I've heard this intelligent, Halsey say she didn't know anything." And
yeah,
it's funny because the minute he said that, she turned that "I don't know" into "This is what I do know," and
yeah.
it's like you can hear with her the smart, type people that don't like admitting that they don't know something, while immediately trying to twist it into something that they know what's going on.
And I like how he pushes for Master Chief. Like he knows like Master Chief is their only, dog in a fight against the Covenant, right? Like we
Yeah.
have to keep him. We have to make sure he's on our side. We got to keep him safe. So that was cool to see. I like that a lot.
Well, yeah, well, he's even talking to her. It's like, I don't get to this level without knowing things. And he's like, but know what? Go ahead and keep this plan light,
Mhm.
so it's not too heavy for everyone to go ahead and take in. Because it's almost like he's in her corner regardless. He
Yeah,
wants Master Chief there. Master Chief is not going to be punished really too badly for what happened, as long as he brings everything back. And which, I mean, spoiler alerts, guys, we get jump forward a little bit. It happens at the end. He comes back. He comes home. But what do you think of that dynamic between those two? Is there more to that dynamic that we even know about?
you know, I think because his experience and who he is, I think he knows. He's a military guy, right? He wants the biggest, baddest technology and weapons to use in a war, and he knows the Spartans are it.
Yeah.
So kind of going back to my first answer, I think that's why. I don't think there really is too much more connection between them. Any I don't any that I know anyways. So
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it just seems like he's there and
mhm,
he's willing to go along with what needs to be done.
yeah.
But I feel like he knows more that he's letting on to in this scene as well.
Yeah. I mean he's a big picture guy, right? He's a lot of experience. So
Yeah,
he
yeah. Yeah, but then we flash forward. I mean, now we're seeing the Spartans. We're seeing, Riz, Kaya, Vanek, and they're all, going to find Master Chief now. They're all on their own ship. And they're going out, and they're like, does he have a plan? Or if he has a plan, why are we coming to him? What's going on? They're all kind
Right.
of questioning it. And this was a question I asked a few of my friends that actually are into the Halo series.
Mhm.
Was there ever dissent amongst Master Chief and other Spartans?
So I would say at this stage of where we're at in the show, no. I mean, these Spartans from the Fall of Reach and the video games, as far as where we're at now, they grew up together. They went through training exercises together. They're used to Master Chief being their leader.
But
You
there
and I
seems
talked.
to be some cracks. I mean, I kind of caught on like, why is he doing this or what's going on? Even going back to episode 1 when he broke protocol and he
Yeah,
had sent them ahead and he actually flew back with Quan,
and
which
I think you answered it. I think they're so used to protocol and following orders, and they see Master Chief, who's suddenly have like a little rebellious side to him, right? Where he's not terminating someone and he actually cares about killing somebody, and he just disappears, right? So they're like, okay, well, this is weird. This is not what we were programmed to do.
yeah, this isn't the ins and outs of what like I think you said it best, program to do.
Yeah,
But
it actually kind of reminds me. You're a Star Wars guy, so like the Bad Batch, how uh who was the sniper character, how he was like, I'm staying
Crosshair.
more. Crosshair was staying more with the Empire, and the other ones were like, well, no, we're not programmed that way. I'm kind of feeling that vibe. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a Spartan turn a certain way or not turn a certain way more than others.
Okay, so here's a big question for you. Since like I always go back and say I don't know anything about the series,
Mhm.
which I mean I'm the biggest noob out there right now. But are there more Spartans, or is it just these four?
See, and that's a hard question because in the books, yes, pretty much essentially, and spoiler alerts to anyone, in the book Fall of Reach, everyone dies essentially except for Master Chief, as
Okay,
far as Spartans go. Um, but you do see in the future of the Halo games, there are some Spartans that do come after Master Chief to find him, but that's a whole different story, a whole different podcast. That's like Halo 5, Halo 6. That's way down the road from where we're at right now.
okay. So, but yeah, because I was confused because at the very beginning of this, when we see them actually 22 years ago when they're actually training,
Mhm.
there's a whole like training bay of them,
Yeah.
and now
It's
all
essentially like
we've
the
seen is
first
four.
batch, is what you're saying. So it could be maybe they're the only four that survive the
All the programming per se.
genetic modifications. Yeah, yeah,
Okay, I can see that because when they go ahead and they call them up, it's not like we see a whole like group of them like forming together. It's just we see basically the four of them,
right,
and
right. And
everyone
it's
knows who these four are. So anytime a Spartan shows up, they know which one it is apparently. Because even Quan was like, "I know you from when you killed my mother in episode
yeah.
1."
Well, the thing that got me too is the numbers because Sorn was 066 and Master Chief is 117.
Yeah,
So it almost makes you wonder how many times did they try this first before they were successful, right?
you know what? I didn't even think that. Yeah, who was 001?
Yeah,
Will
right.
we get since this isn't connected to any of the actual like
Anything's
stuff up?
open in the air, right? Every
Yeah,
anything could be, yeah,
will we see 001? That
right.
that that would be interesting if they did a flashback to a
Yeah,
certain point. It's like right now because Halsey is actually working on Cortana, and she would essentially be 001 in that aspect.
yeah.
What if we seen the 001 version of the Spartans? But
I don't think
yeah,
the 001 Spartan is even alive and it's probably well buried somewhere in that laboratory. So
yeah, no, you're probably absolutely right. So let's see here. So once basically that all takes place, once we get the conversation between the Spartans,
yeah,
we're heading to the rubble. Now, this was awesome. This
yeah,
was, one of the biggest complaints I've heard about the first episode, outside of the obvious the helmet issue,
yeah,
was I heard some people say there wasn't enough action in it, which there was about 10 minutes really worth of action in the beginning.
yeah.
And then there was the call to arms when Master Chief came back at the end. So this one here, there was really no action in. The only action we really got was them coming out of like, I don't know, light speed or whatever you want to call it.
So yeah, it's funny. I was actually gonna ask you and Sean, like, because we're used to Star Wars terms, right? So they actually call it slip space.
Okay, I had no idea. I mean, it
Yeah,
looked like I was with Quan. I was like, man, this looks fantastic. I mean, how
yeah.
fast they going and how they getting through things? Are they hitting Mass Effect relays? I mean, what's going on?
But it was cool to hear him explain it because I don't think I think everyone else just assumed slip space was just, hey, we're light speed, right? We're hyper
Yeah,
driving it
they're
away.
just going to call it something different because it's a different property.
Well, but how he explained it, like
A,
it's like
a ball of yarn.
ball of yarn, and it's how it's like each thread is different, and so that was interesting to me.
Yeah, no, thinking about it, yeah, no, that is pretty. As a different way of thinking about it. If it's like everything is interlaced and you're just kind of hitting that one string going around, but
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, we come into Reach, and not Reach. I'm sorry, we come
Rebel.
into the Rebel.
Yeah,
And all we see is an asteroid field, and that's all he sees. And Quan's freaking out, which
yeah,
is kind of funny watching her freak out. I kind of got a kick out of that. I'm not sure what it means. That says about me, but there all of a sudden he's flying around, and he's hitting these maneuvers, and he's getting through it. And when they get through it, you see the Rebel, and
yeah.
it looked great.
Hmm.
I mean, when you think of a sci-fi planet that is built around an asteroid field,
Yeah,
you couldn't nail that any better.
yeah. It's amazing. And it reminded me of the video game. That's how good the graphics are in the video games, and it looked really good. You're right. I mean, when they landed, um, and the whole process of getting there too was fun. You know.
Yeah, no, I was blown away. Like I said, this episode had a lot of world building, and this was one of those big parts of that world building.
Yeah.
Was just seeing this and seeing because we hear them talk about the Rebel back in the first 10 minutes or so when Soren's leaving. It's like that's where I'm going. That's where I'm going to go. They're never going to catch us. They're never going to find us there.
Oh,
And then
did he name drop that? I missed that.
yeah, he mentioned it right. Yeah,
He's like, we're gonna go get some breakfast from Rebel or something. Is that
we're
what he
gonna
said?
yeah.
Okay. I was
Now see,
wondering
I
how
didn't.
Master Chief knew where to find him. I was gonna bring that up, but okay, that
Yeah,
makes
see,
sense.
and that was something honestly I didn't catch the first time around.
Okay.
I caught that the second time around when I watched it when I had the closed captions on.
Closed captions. Yep.
So if it wasn't for that, and I was so like emotionally invested in that first like 10 minutes immediately,
Mhm.
what Soren said a few times, it went right by me. I was just watching Master Chief or John at that point and seeing his reaction to, a friend, flying the coop essentially.
Yeah. Yep.
But okay, guys. I mean, we're a little ways in here. If you enjoy what you're liking, what you're liking. If you're enjoying what you're watching here and hearing us talk about Halo, I mean, obviously it's a little different dynamic than me and Sean. Me and Sean know nothing. Add Chris into the mix here. He knows quite a bit about the Halo, or a lot more than we do. But it's fun. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We do this every Friday night until we're done with the series. I think it's going to be like the May 20th, I think, or something like that will be our last show for the Halo After Show. And drop comments on the video below, or if you're watching live, throw a comment in there and we'll go ahead and address it along the way. But keeping this moving here, yeah, he walks. He basically he parks the ship
Mhm.
and he walks in, and it's like immediately everyone is freaking out because they're seeing a Spartan at the Rebel,
And
and they're like,
this is where you re-engage me as a video gamer of Halo. Is you don't ever see this. Like you see empty civilian worlds, but you never see a world with civilians in it, right? There is no interaction with civilians in the video game. So seeing like I want to call it the outer rim, but seeing the outer space where the colonies are at and seeing these what did
the
Soren call
scum and
these
outlaws and
renegades and out yeah,
yeah,
exactly. So it was cool seeing that. It's just it adds more content to your Halo mind, right?
we essentially just got our Tatooine.
Right.
We can't even avoid we can't avoid Tatooine even on Halo.
Nope. Nope.
But man, the minute he walks in and everyone freaks out and raises their weapons, and he's just walking, and
Yeah.
Quan's like, is this a good idea?" And he said, "We're fine." And he's like, "They're not going to mess with him."
Yeah. Well, what about them parking the forklift? Like, what is that gonna do? Like, really?
Oh
They're trying to block his path, and he just pushes it back, and you hear the little beep, beep,
yeah.
beep.
Oh, I thought that was hilarious. Well, I like the actual reaction from the guy on the other side that was laughing originally,
Yeah.
and then he realized
Just
he just
like,
shoved that thing aside like it was like a toy.
yeah.
And that was that. I got a question for you, Sean Paul. How do you feel about Master Chief being helmetless?
Oh, The same way, the same way, the Mandalorian felt about seeing other Mandalorians without their helmets on. It's just weird. It doesn't make sense. I'm not used to it. It doesn't feel real.
Doesn't feel real.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I've asked this to a few people as well. Is there a legitimate, real reason that he never removed his helmet in the games or in the books? So I heard
So
there was a few fake outs
yeah,
along the way.
if my memory is right, I believe there's an episode where you literally see him putting like his helmet on, but the camera's slowly going up, and as soon as he puts his helmet on, you barely see like the back of his neck, but like nothing. I think it's more of a mystery than anything.
Gotcha.
Um, yeah,
'Cause the
I told Sean when I saw the first episode, I was like, this feels like a fan made YouTube video
Gotcha.
because you
Yeah.
see him without a helmet on, and you're like, this is not what Master Chief looks like, without a helmet.
Well, yeah, well, it's
So
funny because when I mentioned that to one of the friends I work with, she was like, "Hold on, what?" Because there was so many fake outs, and they wanted to see Master Chief for so long. She's
yeah,
like, "Okay,
and
you only had to wait like 35
first
minutes."
episode, first
Yeah,
episode,
you
like
waited 35 minutes into your Halo experience, and you see Master Chief without
right,
his helmet on, and they've waited years upon years, and they never got it. So
yeah.
yeah, that was the one thing. But when I told
That's
her
what you get with
exactly,
your Paramount Plus subscription, right there.
yeah, exactly.
There you go.
But I told her, to me, it felt like it made narrative sense. They
Yeah,
humanized him right out the gate, and and her opinion was, as long as it made narrative sense and it wasn't just for him to take a nap,
yeah.
it was fine.
Or eat a meal. The jokes also get me, like the I eat nuts and bolts and microchips, and then like the what's the plan? Buckle up. I'm like, this is not
They're a
Master
little
Chief.
dad joke cringeworthy.
But I'm also trying to say like this is way before the video game, so maybe like he gets to that level where he just lost everybody. He's just so cold hearted in the video games. I don't know. So I'm trying to work with it. I'm trying to push through.
Right. So let's see, where were we at here? We were on Rebel. Oh
Yep.
yeah, so we were basically he just pushed aside, you know, the forklift, and then you see Soren walk in. He's like, "Put your weapons down. If he
Yep.
wanted you dead, you'd be dead."
Yep.
I love that line. It's like, you know what? You wouldn't stop him. There's
Yeah.
no way you could have stopped him. Your bullets aren't going to penetrate his armor.
Yep.
You would be dead.
And then he takes his helmet off again,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, he pulls it off.
So like the nerd in me is like, what are you doing? You're on this planet with a bunch of people who want to kill you. Like, what if a
Yeah,
random person just wants to pull the trigger? But again, it's so
it's just I think they're so concerned on humanizing him. Like,
yeah,
I personally, the one thing I didn't like about this episode the most, and I don't want to get too much in that yet, but the lack of time he was actually in his armor.
mhm,
Like, I love the Mandalorian. Well, we'll go to the Mandalorian because that's really the best comparison we have of the two.
yeah, 100%.
And he's in his full get up almost 90% of the time. We have seen him without his helmet on. I think going forward, it's not coming back off for maybe the duration of the show unless it's removed
Yeah,
because of some of the things that have taken place. Here, I want to basically experience Master Chief, and I feel like we'll get the full experience with him with his helmet on, looking through the visor. Kind of some of the things that we got in episode 1,
mhm,
and I don't want them to push that aside just to make him too much humanized. I don't know if I'm saying that right or not.
yeah. I kind of agree with you too. But maybe he is trying to like say like, hey, like I am a Spartan, but I'm also a human too. Like, here's my face. I'm just like you, essentially. I'm alive. I'm breathing. So maybe he's trying to be more compassionate, or I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe
because
he's
that's
just young and dumb still. I don't know. So,
and it has to have something to do with that artifact that he found, because it's
yeah,
unlocking memories
the
that he's
memories.
having. He doesn't
Yeah,
realize they're his memories, but he thinks they're just visions, but they're his personal memories. And I think the reason, because Quan actually asked him when they're in the ship, "Why didn't you kill me?"
right.
And I think the reason he didn't kill her was the same reason he didn't kill Soren.
Yeah,
And I think they're connected, and then these memories are happening, and there's this weird dynamic of like, okay, is he a super soldier? Is he more humanized? What is he at this point?
yeah, yeah. No, I agree. I agree. What do you think about them walking through the streets though, and like the little, I don't want to say elevator, but like the little cart ride?
I thought that was a pretty cool effect.
My heart actually dropped a little bit when it shot out and then it caught on the cable. I was like, oh, okay. Like, what's going on here?
Well, I knew Soren wouldn't be in it, if it wasn't going to be a legit ride. If basically
Right.
if Master Chief and Quan just got in it and it just went like that, I'd be like, oh, that may not have been a good idea. But since he
Yeah.
was in it and not reacting, he was like, I got my own rock, and they go out and they go to to his area, and we meet his family.
Yeah.
We find out that basically the treatments didn't prevent him from being able to have children. So he has a son, and he has obviously a wife.
And then John seemed pretty surprised about that, right? He's like, "You have a child?" And I think he brought it up a couple times. He's like, "How is it possible?" And like, did you catch that same reaction?
Yeah, because he
And,
said because of the treatments, he was like, oh, he's still calling them treatments.
yeah,
It's like, yeah, those treatments stop, and you'll be fine.
yeah,
But I guess those treatments are continued, like suppression
oh,
of
yeah,
emotional deals, and the ability to bear children, all that stuff.
yeah. I mean, you pump all that hormonal stuff in, I can only imagine. So, what do you think about his house and his home? Like, could
That
you
was cool.
imagine that looked really good. I like that a
That
lot.
Yeah,
And
that
I
was
just did
pretty
my
cool.
floors. Take your armor off.
Well, that's another aspect of what my biggest problem with the show was I don't want to see him without his armor on. I want to see
Yeah,
him done up. Now, in that aspect, I can understand it. Once again, it makes narrative sense to go ahead and remove it. But it's like because we get into more of like the you don't taste nothing, the interaction with his child,
yeah.
you see, just the interaction with his wife. There's a lot that actually goes on. There's a lot of depth that takes place within, when Quan and John are here with Soren and his wife and kids, or
Yeah,
kid, I should say.
yeah. So they're in the home. What happens after their home?
Well, they
Yeah,
start talking. I mean, they pretty much go back and forth, and man, I'm blanking out here.
I don't think we get too much in the conversations yet. I think we go to High Charity next, right?
Oh, that's right. You know what? That's pretty much where it stops. They take
Yeah.
off the unit his armor, and they walk in after the interaction with the kids. Or I keep on saying kids because I got plural.
Yeah.
The
The
son,
child.
yeah, the child. But yeah, no, High Charity.
Yeah.
This is
High Charity looks really good. Again, in the video game
phenomenal
perspective,
looking.
the Prophets look amazing. I think the Elites, it's hard to make it, but I think they look good. I think they call them squid faces in the video games. I think their little mouths could be a little longer, but everything else looks great.
Honestly, I mean, like I said, I've got no connection to the game. I thought they cool, but the thought is I thought a grunt from Mass Effect. You were just missing the
Yeah.
big back. But yeah, I mean, they're at I always say unknown location. I wonder if we're ever going to figure out what this location is. Will it?
I don't think so. In the video games, you don't really go to High Charity. There really is no like latitude, longitude for it. So I feel like I think it's going to be unknown probably for the rest of the series.
Okay, and I've got no problem with that. I don't need every mystery solved.
Yeah.
But I mean, we start seeing a conversation that the Blessed One's having with Mercy, and there's a few other ones. That's kind of like a high covenant, I guess. I'm not sure how
Yeah.
to exactly put it. What would they be in the line, like a chain of command?
So they call them prophets. So
Okay,
there's like the prophet regret, prophet mercy, and actually prophet mercy is in the Halo games. You actually see him die in the Halo games. So I think he might be one of the oldest or highest up as far as the
okay,
prophets go. But essentially, the prophets are the leaders. They're the spiritual leaders. It's almost, and you mentioned grunts, so it's like prophets, elites, and grunts.
okay.
Um, so yeah,
But yeah, we see this conversation, and apparently the Blessed One, she's basically saying, "I've got to go and get this," and
yeah.
they're fighting back because she finds out she talks to one of the elites and basically says he activated it.
I had a theory too, the first one. So for all my Halo heads out there, I thought that Elite was going to be the Arbiter from the video games. So maybe they'll spin that off or not. But Chris, a little quick injection for you. The
Okay,
Arbiter is the one who fails to stop Master Chief from destroying the first Halo. So I don't know why I had that theory when I first saw him going after the first artifact and then kind of being brought to the attention. I was like, oh, maybe that's the Arbiter. So I'm gonna throw that theory out there, see if it sticks or not. So we'll see.
okay. I'm gonna throw this back at you then.
Yeah,
Anyone that is into Halo is gonna be. I can see them now. Banging their heads on the desk or the wall, whatever's closest to them.
yeah.
But what is Halo?
So, and I want to get into this a little bit a little bit later, but Halo is exactly what they keep referring to the ring. It's the weapon of destruction, right?
Okay.
I don't know if I want to spoil it for you here or not, because I feel like we're getting to Halo, especially
Okay.
with what we're about to talk about with the Keystone and kind of
Okay.
how the Blessed One brings it up. So it sounds like, and I think we have a clip, right? Or
Yeah,
no?
no, let's go ahead and there's that
Let's
interaction that's happening between the Blessed One and the prophets. Let's go
yeah.
ahead and see a little bit of that interaction here.
Chamba jana okogaka. Heji mijaga.
Nirinike ni nehe hirajo.
Jani dibe janu ikuji. Jana tsakunki jaga. Keda raja he.
That
So,
whole that whole thing. It's like I'm
and we
curious
finally have
how
a name for it, right? It's
yeah.
a Keystone. So that was the first time we've heard it. So the whole time in my back of my head, again, for all my Halo fans out there, I'm thinking it was the Index, in which the Index is an artifact or an item that activates Halo. So it sounds like the Keystone is a map to find Halo. And again, I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but we see
It
that
sounds like there's multiple keystones though. That's kind of what
there's
I've got.
multiple Halos.
Is there multiple halos?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, spoiler. So yeah.
No, that's good. No, I've got no problem. It's one of those things. Knowing it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
It's like how it happens. Like that's how they've got me so sucked in. It's like, okay, I'm not sure how any of this happens. So having a little bit of knowledge isn't good. Shouldn't hurt anybody.
And again, I think as a Halo fan, you're really reeling me in here now because I'm kind of seeing, like, I know the whole story of how the Halos were created and how the Covenant was created, but now I know like how they found the Halo and where they started, right?
Yeah.
So it's cool to see that.
Yeah, that whole interaction. I mean, and it wasn't really long. It was pretty much this. I mean, she has to be what 15, 16. They're I'd hope I don't know, older maybe not.
Older
old?
for sure.
Well, yeah, based on the scene they show us at the end, she better be older.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's just say 21. But 21 in human years, what would that be in prophet years? I mean, how would she be able to push them around and say, this is what I'm doing, and pretty much like it or not?
She has that young teenage adult attitude, I guess, right? She wants to be a rebel. She's human. So
yeah. Gee, I guess we'll go that way. And I mean, she makes a good point as well. She's the only one that can walk amongst them without being, called
But does
out.
she speak English?
There's that too.
We have no idea when she was captured or taken in, or
we do see her in episode 1. She's got the book and she's studying from the book. So I'm assuming it's written in English, or there's some type of there's somewhere in there that she would be able to speak English on top of whatever language you're speaking of now.
Yeah. Yeah,
but
I like that scene a lot. Though that was a cool scene to see everything and to see the prophets again and see the elites again. I like seeing the elites. I like seeing all the CGI, and I'm hoping we see more of that as the show goes on. So
I like how good it looked.
Yeah.
It looked crisp. It looked like honestly, it looks like they spent money on the show because there's plenty of CGI within the show. Because a lot of people were like, the trailers look cheap. Well, like 5 minutes into the first episode, I felt like it didn't feel cheap, and this one basically continued that from when we see. Charity, High Charity. When we see, Rebel, when we actually see Reach, all these look really well done.
I mean, even the Pelicans and the Phantoms. I mean, everything looks really good. I mean, it looks like they literally just dragged and dropped it to the video game and threw it on there. The Warthog looks a little off, but I think it's just because we haven't seen it very clearly yet. And that's the vehicle they ride in. Sorry, I'm throwing all these terms at you.
No, you're fine. I mean, it's something that may be going over my head, but someone else maybe, that's watching is going ahead and picking up on it.
Yeah.
But from there, I mean, basically she said she's going to do it. And mindset, it's happening regardless of what they think. And I mean, she said she's not going to forget where she comes from and the whole deal. But we go back to Reach. I mean, honestly, they bounce a lot. This is one of those episodes you have to actually be paying attention,
right?
Because it's you blink 1 minute and they're completely off one scene and they're on a whole other planet and something else is going on.
Yeah,
and you're kind of lost amongst what's happening. But we see the High War Command, taking place. Everyone's sitting around the table. And I really enjoyed this here because it really
Yeah.
showed, you have Admiral Hood sitting back, kind of going over things, and they finally get a victory because they got someone that they can completely control over Madrigal. So, I mean, granted, he's not exactly the best of guys. He's executing all of Quan's dad's friends.
He's a
For
governor too. Was it Venture, I think is how you pronounce his name? Is that
I
right?
think that's what it is. Yeah,
Venture.
but he was a basically they called him a traitor. Everyone that was on Madrigal, they called him a traitor. He was someone that was completely against who was basically against Jinha. I think that's what his name was, Quan's father.
Wasn't it more than just that planet though? Wasn't it like against the whole rebellion? I want to say rebellion. I don't know if that's the right term or not, but
That may not be wrong. I think he was against him because he was like, the stopping the sale of the hydrogen and all of that stuff. But
Yeah.
he's definitely operating on the side of shady. You can tell
Yeah.
because you see them. I mean, this goes back to when we were back on still on Rebel. Quan's watching him execute these people, basically friends of the family. Essentially, that's who they would have been.
Yeah.
And he shoots down this drone, so they can no longer see. Now, there was a really, I think I got a little ahead of myself here,
Yeah.
but there are some really like nuggets that they drop in this show.
Mhm.
Like I think the first one, I don't know for exactly how it went, but it's like, at what point do we lose our humanity? When
Yeah.
they talk about killing Quan.
Quan. Yep.
Well, in this episode here, you have Soren's wife saying revenge and justice are easily to confuse.
Yeah.
It's
We
like,
are jumping a little ahead, but yeah, no, you're right. You're right.
yeah, that's just a little further ahead than where we are now. But it's just something that just came to mind for me. It's like, you know what? They're slipping some really deep lines or lines that you can really think about when in a show that you would be like, you would think at face value that something like that wouldn't
Yeah.
be in there.
Right. No, I agree. I agree.
But backing it up a little bit, I know. I don't have Sean here to reel me in, so this is
Right. You and I can go down the rabbit hole all day long.
exactly. Sean, I can see a comment comes across. Okay, guys, pull it back.
Right. Right.
But yeah, we have Keys, stating this whole thing that's happened.
Yep.
And they're happy that there's finally a victory. He's like, no, okay, finally some good news. And then they ask about Master Chief.
Yep.
And you're like, you know what? He'll be brought in. He'll be punished. And Hood's like, no, he'll be brought in.
What do you think about Keys going against Dr. Hazley? Because he's like, we brought in, punished, and Hazley's kind of like, and then Hood stands up for him, like, hey, no, we got he's our symbol, he's our hope, he's our fist,
I like the dynamic. I think the family dynamic within, Miranda, Keys, and Halsey. I think that's interesting. That's a whole storyline amongst itself.
Yeah.
Those three.
Miranda doesn't even call her mom either. She just calls her
no,
daughter.
not even
Halsey.
mom. It's not even. It's just Dr. Halsey.
Mhm.
It's like because she thinks she's getting in her way of progression for herself.
Yep.
But I thought it was interesting on how Halsey went ahead and stepped up, and she put the Cortana thing out there for everybody, and basically said how her and Paragotsky, I may have said that wrong, or have been working side by side with this. When that's not the truth. That's not what was going on. And
I got scared when Paragotsky gave her that look. Like, what are you doing? Like, are you about to do this right now? And
she hit her with it because she knew if it was going to happen, it had to happen there.
Mhm.
And that had to take a lot of nerve because she could have lost everything if Hood said no. And then when that other member of the council
called her out.
called her out and said, haven't you authored papers on this? And she was like, I've authored, and she didn't back down either. She's like, I authored many papers on this. And then they were talking about how it was like morally like illegal and everything for her to do. And said, have you gotten around this? And she looks over at Paragotsky and says, yes. And that was like, ooh, that took nerve. And then when Hood asked Paragotsky, she had no other course of action beside to say she was on board with what Halsey was doing.
Well, it was weird because wasn't it like, how did you get around it? And then Hood's like, I'll leave this up to you to approve or something.
It's almost like he knows that. Once again, it goes back to the conversation we had at the very beginning.
Oh, yeah.
I think he knows that the Cortana project was still being worked on.
Yeah.
And Paragotsky knew But now this was a chance to get it in front of everybody, so everybody knows. And then he gave the thumbs up to Paragonski as long as it was done on a limited, aspect.
Yeah, and I'm actually curious. That's a good point because you talked about how does he know more than what we know about, because Cortana's a game changer. I mean, she really is. So again, no spoilers yet, but just like the Master Chief, she's just as important to winning a war against the Covenant as Master Chief is. So
Yeah, I'm going to be really interested to see how it goes forward. It almost looks like the clone that she has in there. It almost looks like Halsey, just a bald Halsey.
I was going to bring that up. Yeah.
So it looks like she used her own DNA to go ahead and clone herself rather than using someone else as a test case.
Yeah.
So so I wasn't the only one that's seen that. You caught that as well.
I think so too. It's always hard when completely bald, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
But real quick, guys, if you're still on the ride, on this ride with us, we're about 40 minutes in. Thanks for joining us. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We are fully interactive. Any comments you have are welcomed. We love responding back. If you're watching this recorded, drop your comment below. I make sure I go ahead and I respond to all of them. I actually enjoy them as well. So as soon as I see one come across, I respond as quickly as I can. But we're going back to Rebel at this point. I mean, we're like I said, we are all over. No, well, we see Madrigal a little bit,
Right.
and that's the killing of
a
the
quick
followers.
I was excited because I was like, oh, we get to learn who this new person is and what's going on. And at first I was like, I thought the whole planet of Madrigal was destroyed. The population was, but obviously not. It looks like there's more people around the planet.
Yeah,
So,
I figured that was just a certain clan or something, a pocket of people in
right.
that that one spot.
Right.
Yeah, that would have been a little. See, that didn't cross my mind. I didn't think that was basically the entirety of the planet.
Yeah. And this is where we need Sean, because that actor, I always forget who he is, but he plays like that classic bad guy, that look on his face.
Yeah.
He's so familiar, and I'm gonna.
Well, I think he was in the Hellboy movies.
Was that it?
I believe so, because I love those movies, and yeah, I'm not gonna. I was thinking about looking it up, and yeah, but that's one thing I didn't put in notes. Look at that. That's what I get for that.
Right.
But
so he's going through with the riddle. He's killing everyone. He's showing his power, and then he kills the drone, and then we're back on.
Then that's that. I mean, that's pretty much it. And that's where we get that little bit of that conversation that I was speaking of earlier about revenge and justice easily to confuse.
Yep. And then the wife, I forgot her name, but she's like, I know how you feel. And she's like, how do you know how I feel? And she's like, my family was killed by the Covenant.
Yeah.
Did you catch that? So yeah, it's just like the Covenant's out here in the Outer Rim just destroying people, it sounds like, for fun.
Yeah, well, I think they're constantly they're looking for artifacts. And if there's somebody there, they don't care who it is. They wipe out, whatever resistance they can have, and then they do their mining. And I'm shocked that the actual outpost that Quan was from survived as long as they did.
Yeah,
because it looked like the Covenant was there for a long time based on the mining that they were doing, and it just happened that Quan stumbled upon them this time, and that was basically what brought the hammer down.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, we see that. Well, we talk about the pellet in John's back.
Made him
basically
numb.
I mean, Soren's saying it makes you numb. That's why you don't taste anything, or you have no real human reactions to anything, and that's what he's fighting with now. Because now he's like, okay, why didn't I kill her? Why did I not go back?
Yeah. And that kind of opens up with something for me too, because for Soren, I'm thinking so was the pellet taken out of his back? Is he just doing clarity to make him more freedom? Did you see that they were doing the little inhaler thing?
Yeah. Quan was like, I've had enough clarity for the day.
Does that help him get rid of his old Spartan ways, or whatever his programming ways? So I'm curious as kind of his process and what he went through to get to where he was.
And it may be, I don't know if the pellet's there. I think it's there.
Okay.
I think the way he became the way he is now, I think the clarity may help with maybe the pain.
Mm-hmm.
So I bet you there's some level of pain, but it's almost like he no longer takes the treatments. So without the treatments, he now has a clear head.
Yeah. Well, even he said in the first scene, I dream, but John's like, I don't dream. It's kind of like.
Well, it's almost, it's almost like the actual treatments weren't working on him. The memory suppressants weren't working on him, and that's why he was, he's seen what was going on, and he was able to go ahead and make his own decision.
Mm-hmm. I liked how the wife did help, like say, like, okay, Soren, back off, like leave him alone.
Yeah, she was playing the mediator. She was actually playing the, calm down. He's got a lot on his mind type thing, and he's like, you're right. I have a lot going on. But what do you think of his Soren's son giving him the stamp?
Man, I was like, Master Chief, please don't like punch or push this kid, because he just runs up to him and goes boom, and I'm like,
uh-oh.
You don't just stamp Master Chief's hand. You know what I'm saying? Like,
well, then I love his response. He was like, I accept.
Yeah. Well, he's like down in his face, and he's like, I accept. I'm like, what's gonna happen? And then of course Soren makes a joke. Oh, I accept.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
So
when
funny.
things kind of go sideways. Because I mean, Master Chief has no experience with kids. The most experience he has with kids was dealing with Quan.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I can understand him not knowing exactly how to respond to a 6-year-old, 7-year-old. I mean, he was younger. So I mean,
kid,
that whole interaction was absolutely believable. I buy that 100%. But I mean, they basically go ahead and that's it for the night. I mean, they get some rest. I think because they didn't show that, but they implied that that everyone's kind of getting some rest. But then they go ahead and they start showing, the key. Well, we know it's now called the Keystone.
Yeah.
And they're showing to it, and Soren's looking at it, and Soren actually goes in to touch it. And both Quan and John are like freaking out. They don't know what's going to happen.
Right.
And nothing happened. So John's like, okay, I got to figure out what's going on with this. What's happening? And they take him. I think I may have jumped forward here.
Yeah, I think we missed a little bit here.
Okay, let's put the brakes on that, the touching the actual stone here.
Yeah.
We find ourselves on the UNCS frigate.
Yeah.
And they're going outbound. They're looking for Master Chief.
Mm-hmm.
And they noticed he comes out in the what was that called? The
Astrofield.
Thank you. Yes, asteroids and everything.
I liked the name of the frigate too, Stalwart Dawn, because the Dawn, I think it's almost like a series of the frigates, because you hear a couple other Dawn ships in the video games.
Okay, so there's
small
meaning
little
to the
Easter
name
egg
of it.
there. Yeah.
Okay.
And it looked really good. It looked like the other frigates they use in the games too. So yeah, why did he drop out of there? What is he doing?
Yeah. I mean, because now they don't know where he is. He doesn't have his beacon or anything on. I think it makes absolutely no sense for him to drop out where he was. And I mean, that's pretty much the extent. We don't get much of the Spartans in this episode. I was hoping we would get more interaction between, Silver Team and, just in general.
And again, no helmets, right? They didn't have helmets
none
on.
of them had their helmets on. They were all off. So are they in danger of getting too far away from the look? Like when you think Master Chief, I think that the helmet, the gold kind of visor, the shine, and basically what we have, on the bottom right of our screen here.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I don't think, of him without it, or any of the Spartans without it.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
But now we have we're back on Reach. Go figure. I mean, we're bouncing all over the place.
I didn't realize how jumpy this was until I was like, oh, this is kind of jumpy. Now we're back on the Reach, and the Reach scene's not that long.
No, this one isn't long at all. But I love the little bit of like interaction we got here, because Miranda's chasing down Paragotsky, and she's like, I should have this artifact that is my department. It's not Halsey's department.
Yeah.
But and she keeps digging into her and keeps digging into her. It's like, I know I put you in that position. I know who you are. I know where you are. I know your responsibilities.
I can't remember what she name dropped, but there was a couple things she threw out. Like I think she threw out like I helped with the slip space. I helped with some other stuff that they use on a daily. So that was kind of cool to see like what her role has been and what she's been doing.
Yeah, things that she's been developing with the alien technologies that she's been able to find.
Yeah, because and again, spoiler alert, but Miranda is actually a pretty big character in the game.
Okay, and I've kind of got. I mean, they haven't leaned heavily yet into her with these 2 episodes, but what they have given from her, I absolutely buy that. Like, I really feel like she's going to play a big role going forward in the show itself. But I mean, I thought it was funny at the very end. She's like, you're just like your mother, just no polish. And she said something to the extent, I'm tired of being
Being
manipulated.
Oh yeah, that was like, damn. Okay.
I was like, okay, that's that. You better peel back, or you're not going to have that position anymore.
Oh yeah. And then I think we get back to what you were talking about earlier, back on Rubble.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, at this point here, yeah, they show them, Soren goes ahead and touches it, nothing happens.
Yeah.
But John is determined to figure out what this is. And Soren's like, I know a guy that we didn't know at the time, but he's like clinically insane.
Yeah.
It was, and the actor that played him did a phenomenal job. of the whole deal.
110% bought in. I think that was my favorite like 5 minutes of the episode, just watching him act, especially when I went back and watched it the second time.
When he was bouncing around or crawling around or his laughing.
Or even when Master
fear.
Chief he goes and touches his helmet, he was like, "You've seen him, like you fought against him and stuff like that." I was like, "This is just."
Well, at that
this is
point, I thought
hilarious.
maybe he was blind.
Oh yeah,
When he did that, because it's
He's-
almost like he was feeling out like who was in front of him, kind of like someone will touch their face.
yeah.
That was my first impression. But as it went, I don't know if I buy him being blind at that point, because he knew exactly
No.
what he was touching, what he was reaching for,
Yeah.
how he was reacting.
His character, I was bought in, from close the door to crawling on the floor to lighting the candle to did you realize how interested he was in Quan? Like, who
Yeah.
are you? And he was in her face for a little bit until they're like, "Hey, refocus here."
There's more to go with her. I think we are.
You think
there's
she's
gonna
a
be
blessed? You think she's a blessed one too?
I hope not.
Yeah.
Honestly, I hope not. That's not a bad theory. But honestly, I hope not, because I want her to go ahead, because I think she's gonna find her way back to Madrigal.
Yeah.
And I think there's gonna be a reckoning between her and the new governor.
Venture, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Venture. His name keeps slipping me, but I think there's gonna be more to happen with her. So I think she's gonna be a side story or a B story to what's actually going on, here.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, we find out this dude's name is Reth.
Yeah.
What did you think of the environment he was in? It almost looked like it was like a jail setup on a planet with no laws or anything.
Great. I think it was a great scene. I'm like scared, but I'm also like anxious. Like, what? I felt like I was there. Like, what's going on? I brought the churros because they love sweet things. Like, the guy barking at her, the one guy looking at like bugs and paintings. It was just so. It was
Well,
like
he even had to go ahead and hit a keypad to get into where they were at.
right.
So I was lost on the idea of it, just because when he's explaining the place to John,
Yeah.
Master Chief, he's like, this is the place of lawlessness, no laws, no government, no nothing.
He said it wasn't a jail, but it was more like a refugee. Is that what he called it? I think like a refugee center.
Honestly, I don't remember specifically
I think
what
he
he
referred
actually.
like a refugee. But yeah, and don't make any quick sudden movements. When they were walking in, I thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's like, no, calm down. You're or relax. He said, you're
Relax,
fine.
yeah.
But yeah, they finally walk in, and we get that that interaction. We get them with Ren, and he's like, he sees the artifact, and he starts freaking out, because it's like immediately he knows what it is, just because of his time with with the Covenant. When he was abducted, and I guess since he wasn't a blessed one, they released him, and that's kind of why his mental state is where it's at.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only thing I can think of.
That's another thing. Did they release him? Did he escape? Like, what happened? I feel like the Covenant should be like, okay, just throw him outside and let him die in space or whatever.
Yeah, just kind of throw him in the airlock and let it go.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird to me that they would release somebody. So I think there's more to it. I think that he must have escaped, or they brought
when
him
he
to a
said,
location.
he said something about being sensitive, and then he touched it, and then just the way he laughed and they show his teeth, I thought was a great scene. I loved it.
Oh yeah, he reached forward like really slowly, and then put his hand on it, and he's like, I told you I couldn't activate it, and he just starts laughing and freaking out, and oh man, the line when he asked Master Chief, do you want to do you want to help destroy the Covenant and destroy human whatever it was? He's like, no, I don't want to destroy us. He's like, good. And then we get a lot of this kind of interaction that takes place beyond there.
Yeah.
What are you? You bring it to life. But you are different. than the one they have. The one they have. It's in your eyes. What do you mean? It's in your eyes. What do you mean? You don't understand. What you are, do you? What am I? What am I?
I was even laughing when he was laughing. So yeah, because he was going to destroy it, and John stopped him, and then boom.
Yeah, I mean that was we missed something going into that. The big thing was he picks up to go ahead and like kind of break it, and John just touches it to stop it, and it just lights up and it shoots like this I called it like a sonic boom or like
EMP or
EMP.
whatever.
That's what that's what I called it last episode. Throughout the area, and next thing you know, he's freaking out now. He hits the floor, he rolls around. And he's like, "What are you?" Then he basically tells him, "You're a blessed one." And John has no idea what a blessed one is.
And I
So
can see
he's
it in your
learning information.
eyes.
Yeah.
Is there something about the eye? Yeah. And then John's like, "What am I?"
Yeah. Then he starts freaking out, like, "You're different than the one they have."
Mhm.
So now John knows there is one with the covenant that can do what John can do.
And he
And
knows
then
it's
he
a
finds,
weapon.
yeah, now he finds out it's a weapon as well.
Yep.
And this is when you start seeing an internal struggle with him. He starts freaking out. Like he trusts one person.
Mhm.
And if that person's worthy of being trusted, it's a whole nother question. But he trusts Halsey without a shadow of a doubt. And he's like, I've got to go. And he basically grabs it and takes off.
Yep.
And Soren's like, whoa, that's it. We're done. That's all that's going on. Then he tells Quan that she's staying, not even giving her a choice. While he's going back to the UNSC, she has no choice. She can't go back there. She still should be killed.
Mhm.
So her one option with him leaving, going there, is staying with Soren.
Mhm.
Which, I mean, what do you think of that? I mean, he gave him his word that he'll protect her.
I think it goes back to Master Chief being kind of like that programmed, I'm here to save the human race. The Covenant are on a trail for a massive weapon. I have a key component. What do I do with it?
Yeah. And the more he
So-
touches it, the more it's messing with his head.
Yeah.
So every
then
time he
there is-
activates it, not even he's never activated it on purpose.
Mm.
So every time he activates it, a new memory comes flooding back.
Right.
And I mean that's what's bugging him, and he doesn't know it. And even when he gets back, so he leaves, and Quan is furious that he's not giving her a choice.
Right.
And she's staying there. It's the safest place for him. He did basically what he could do for her, which I think may bite him in the butt later. I think there may be something that happens later between those two, and she's going to hold a grudge for him leaving her there. But I mean, we're looking down the road here. I love looking down the road. It's fun.
Yeah.
Definitely was me not knowing anything at all.
Mhm.
It's fun and easy for me to speculate.
Yeah.
you,
Yeah.
you can shoot it down immediately. Like, yep, nope, she's done.
Yeah.
But he gets out in the ship and he takes off and he hits his beacon.
Yep.
Now this is where I think the show missed something. I wanted to see an interaction between the Spartans and Master Chief when they go ahead and they basically get his ship.
Like
Like, I
his side
want-
of the story, what's going on.
Yeah, a little bit of dialogue. It didn't have to be a lot.
But remember,
just
they're programmed. I'm telling you, they're programmed to find Master Chief, bring him in, right?
So basically knowing what you know of Halo the series and everything, you don't think there was
that's just-
really
No, that's not even like my Halo background. I think that's just more like of how they were. I mean, think of what Master Chief would do if he was in their shoes without touching this relic that makes him have flashbacks.
Yeah,
Right?
so he wouldn't. Yeah, because even if they touch it, they have no idea because it's not. It's probably not going to do anything with them touching it.
Right.
But he can touch it right in front of them, and it's going to light everything up.
hmm
So I think his explanation or something. But yeah, there's probably nothing took place at all. He just basically showed up. They got the ship
Armor is off again. He's walking on Reach, handcuffed.
handcuffed. Yeah.
And that's
and
when
he-
you had the Warthog pull up with Dr. Hosley grabbing. She's like, "Go get that artifact. Put it in the same vehicle as me." She didn't even look at him. Did you notice that? He looked back at her, and she was just so focused on the artifact.
Well, then Miranda was also in the crowd, and she's seen her mom pull up real quick, grab it, and take
Had her
off.
gloves on. Yeah.
Yeah,
she
I
was
mean,
ready.
it was the whole thing, and it was visually, I think, important seeing all four of them together again, and then walking with him back to wherever they were going. That was kind of like a lockup type situation that they found him, but Yeah, then there's that interaction. Well, we see Halsey with the keystone,
Mhm.
and she's staring at it, and she's like, she's never seen anything like it before.
Right.
There's no way she knows what it is. There's no way she knows what it can do or what the power of it is, or any of that, because she wouldn't have the ability to activate it, and nothing that she would have be able to activate it. So I'm
Right.
kind of curious why she thinks it's so important or what it is.
I don't know. I don't know if there's more to the story there. Maybe it's like an energy source. Maybe from Master Chief touching it, maybe she saw some of the metrics or statistics or whatever from his suit saying like, "Hey, this." But yeah, but even so, she walks into the cell and sees him. And he's like, "Well," and she's like, "I've never seen anything like this before," and she seems very hyped about it, but we don't know why.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there's that. Then so Sean has actually been able to watch a little bit of it here. He said, "Why
Yeah.
was John and Halsey's scene at the end of the so creepy? What's the relationship? We got some weird vibes."
It's because he's the child that snuck out and got caught by his mom, right? I mean, he's back home. Mom's like, "What the hell were you doing? I'm gonna get in trouble. You're gonna get in trouble, right?"
You caused issues, not just for yourself, but for the whole Spartan program.
And she made him feel guilty. I mean, she completely said like, "This is all on you. This has nothing to do with me." And she,
Well, he
I
even
feel
wanted to talk about like the flashbacks, and she quickly pushed him away from that, and let's just deal with the diagnostics or whatever it was she was speaking of.
Mhm.
So yeah, she doesn't want to talk about the flashbacks. She wants him to go ahead and try to forget those. I mean, there may be more treatments to go ahead and suppress, those
Right.
memories.
And it's weird because she asked about why didn't you kill Quan? You've killed so many people before in the past, and he's like, I don't know, I'm different. Blah blah. That whole dialogue. So, but she's that smile that she gave at the end. Why'd you come back? Because it's the only people. You're the only one I
You're the only
trust.
one I can trust. Yeah, and the holding of the
That
hands and
that smile, man. I was like, ooh, like that is creepy.
yeah, no, she actually has a hold of them in a way that many don't.
Yeah,
And
I
so
think she felt secure and safe. I'm like, okay, he's back. He's mine. He's my puppet. Uh, you know.
and then it fades away. I mean, that's pretty much where it ends.
Did we see the clone thing happen next, and then the Quan picture, and then the blessed one picture, or no? I can't remember what
Well,
order it happened.
we've seen that it was kind of like a montage. All of a sudden, the
Like the
blessed one is
music.
kind of undressing, I guess, to put on whatever human type jeans and t-shirt. But
Let's break
what
it down.
did you?
Let's break it down though. Okay, so let's start with her. So she's undressing. I didn't see the jeans or t-shirt, but did you notice a
No,
scar
just kind
on
of
her back?
yeah. There's a scar on her like one of her
Right.
back of her shoulders.
Yeah.
And like I don't know, and that may have something to do with the testing that they were doing on the to see if
The
they were a blessed one.
or the torture, because I know she mentioned about being tortured. Is it a plasma hit? Like I don't know what that is.
Yeah,
Um,
they purposely showed it, so it wasn't done on accident.
so my
So
thought process when she's undressing, I think she's realizing like I'm human. Like I'm this is flesh. Like I'm a human being. I'm beautiful. I'm normal. I think because she's like touching her arm and like
yeah, she
touching
was
her
peeling the
hand.
glove off. I got
Yeah,
weird vibes from that whole thing. I was like, I just, I
it
like I
caught me
said.
off guard. I didn't know it was gonna be like that. That
Oh yeah,
open.
no, it caught me way off guard because I didn't expect anything like that to be in a show,
Yeah.
of like this on a streaming platform that everyone could watch.
Right.
It's not like an HBO Max type,
Yeah.
series, but
And then Quan was just her watching the picture of the governor, right? Or
yeah,
am okay.
she was just watching that, and that's why I really think she's gonna find her way back.
Yeah.
Like she's gonna find her way off of of the rebel and
Yep.
back to Madrigal.
Yep.
And there's
I
gonna be a big deal that's gonna happen there.
and I kind of hope Soren. I want to see like his Halo strength. I want to see his Halo battle stuff because I'm sorry, his Spartan battle. His
He's wearing
Spartan
some of it
skills.
still. I mean, he's
Yeah.
still wearing. Well, I mean, if you think about it, though, I mean, in reality, he wouldn't have any that it's gonna fit him because when he left, he was a kid. It was 22
That's true.
years ago, so
That's
it
true.
was smaller. He's become a full grown man now.
He's got the
So
black market Spartan gear.
yeah, yeah, that's funny.
But that'd be cool. I want to see him fight because I'm sure he's probably a skilled
Oh,
warrior.
the whole place stopped
Yeah.
when he walked in. So there must have been something that took place that made everyone on Rebel, respect him.
Yeah.
And I mean, we don't know when that took place or anything. So there's a lot of backstory between him that we didn't get either. And I'm not sure if he was just a no, see, I think we're gonna get more because with
Yeah.
Quan still there, we have to get a little bit more of that story itself.
They're gonna throw
So
another phase in there where they're going jump from scene to scene to scene to scene just to throw you off.
yeah, exactly. And
So, what'd you think about the ending when Hosley's opening up the little pod to her, maybe her clone self of being bald?
I was waiting for it. I don't know how it's actually going to go ahead and how they're going to go forward because they were kind of during that whole war council. They were like, he's human, but she's like, this is the next evolution. So I'm kind of curious how they're going to go ahead and integrate her into. Is it just going to be him, or is it going to be all four of the Spartans?
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you a question. So, do you think when she opened the pod up, do you think that person in the pod is Cortana?
I actually, yeah, I mean that's what they're leading on. That's what they're actually giving us the impression of.
So, my thought process, and again, this is me being a Halo head, I think Cortana and the clone are two separate things.
Okay.
Because they talk about Cortana being like an AI, a technology,
Yeah.
which we all know well, Halo fans know who Cortana is and all that. This clone, we don't know anything about.
Yeah, I don't know. That's hard telling.
And as a Halo fan, I'd be really upset if they merge a Cortana and a clone together and don't have like the cool AI Cortana.
Well, we've already seen we've seen Cortana in the trailers. So
Okay, yeah.
so there's going to be some type of AI. There's going to be some type of hologram type setup of her.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if she needs to have a physical form and she's going to stay within that that egg type thing, and that's how she connects to, whatever network they've got that's going to connect to the Spartans with her.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's a lot of See, my impression was that was her,
Yeah.
but I didn't know how she went from that to
An
the
AI.
hologram type interface that's
Yeah.
going to be there as well.
I think they're two separate projects. I think you've got the clone, and then a different project is Cortana.
I mean, you may be right on that. I like I say, it's hard for me to actually, speculate too much, but
Yeah.
you may be onto something. So I'm not sure exactly. Like I said, for someone that's like new to the whole, the Halo world, that to me looked like what they were leading on to.
Yeah.
But there could be more beyond because we're episode 2, so there's a lot more, and they're
There's a
actually
lot
giving
more.
and they're actually giving us. I mean, there's only I think 8 episodes, but they're giving us hour-long episodes.
Yeah. Very long.
Which is giving us plenty, of content. So it's not like they're giving us, 8 episodes at 30 minutes each when you feel like, oh, I'm just getting into it and it's done.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, well, as a whole, what'd you think of this episode?
So again, I told you it was my favorite episode. Well, there's only 2. It's been my favorite episode so far.
Okay.
My theory is, they talked about the blessed ones. We saw, was it Wreath? They brought up in the ship. He wasn't a blessed one. They let him go. So are they just going around collecting humans that can activate these artifacts and these keystones? Right? That has to be the theory. And then one thing I forgot about talking about keystones, I got excited because the keystone is actually part of the armor in one of the games. They had like a keystone helmet. It was like in Halo 4. So I was thinking maybe that was connected, but there is no connection there. So small Easter egg. Yeah.
Yeah, no,
What about you? What are your thoughts?
No, I really enjoyed it. I mean, this is the show as a whole, between episode 1 and here episode 2. When it's on, I don't even have my phone in my hand. It's down. It has me locked the entirety of the show. And there's been very few shows. I mean, I'm waiting for Obi-Wan to launch here, but even like Boba Fett or The Mandalorian, there's been a few Mandalorian episodes where I'm like, it's got me.
Yeah.
But even all the Marvel stuff, which I really enjoy, that I'm really invested in, I have my phone up. I'm kind of doing multiple things.
Yeah.
This show here that I've had no connection with besides these 2 episodes has had me like almost emotionally connected from the get-go. Like when I'm watching episode 1, by the time we hit the end of episode 1, my heart is racing, like in anticipation of what's going to happen. This episode here, it had me to the point where it's like, I'm enjoying the world building and I'm getting more, and we're actually learning more about what this artifact is. And we now know as, the Keystone. So I'm just curious, like I'm already in countdown mode for next Thursday. And Thursday is weird for me. It's like, okay, I mean, it's Wednesday and Friday. Thursday's kind of in between.
Right.
It's brilliant on their hand, though, because they're not going to run up against any other premieres on another platform.
Yeah.
But I'm all in. I'm ready for the next one. I'm enjoying it. I just
You
want
talked
Master
about the
Chief.
action pack thing,
Yeah.
you know, more action. I feel like we're only going to get more and more action. One more theory I had too is I feel like every time the keystone is activated, the Covenant knows or someone's going to be drawn to where it was activated. So like I wouldn't be surprised if eventually we see the Covenant hit Reach or the Covenant hit Rebel, right?
And that could be the fall of Reach.
right,
That could be when the planet gets glassed.
right. And
and that-
maybe Master Chief is on
Madrigal?
Madrigal helping our girl out fight, you know, against this evil governor, and that's why he makes it through.
Oh, I liked it. And that honestly, that could be a finale. That could be episode 8, and then we'll leave it at that going into the next season. Because I feel like I'm already counting another season. I'm enjoying this so much, and it's
Yeah.
I don't know. It's I hope
I mean,
other
they're
like
killing it. I feel like they're going to have to make more seasons.
yeah, and I hope that it's actually getting to play from like non-Halo people, not non-Halo heads.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
rolling with that.
We're gonna keep using it until it becomes a thing. So
So I mean, dude, thanks for joining us, man. This has been a blast. I mean, we've gone a little longer, but you know what? It was well worth
I'm
it.
actually proud of you and I because you know you and I can talk about anything for hours. So we did good. We're under an hour and 12 minutes, so I'll take it.
Yeah. Well, guys, you know, if you were here for the entirety of the show, thank you so much for joining us. This has been a blast. If you haven't already, please hit that like, hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and you know what? Share this with other people that you know that are either watching, you know, Halo for the first time with no connection to it, like me, or you know, someone that like Christopher here that does like it, but is very skeptical of the show. I mean, they can tune in, hear us talk about it a little bit, and then maybe it'll go ahead and spark some curiosity in them, just to go ahead and get the word of mouth out there. So this does get successful, and it is picked up for a second season because I'm really looking for that.
Yeah. And thanks for having me. I love the show. You guys are great. I look forward to every Friday seeing this. So
There we go, guys. So until we see you next week, you know, at 10 o'clock on Friday, take it easy.